All right, so I suppose I can start now, right, Mr. Benjamin? Can I? Can I like proceed?
Go ahead,
All right.
Balogun.
Thank you, sir. So good morning, everyone. Balogun Senator. So today on the KD, I'll be talking about Git and GitHub, getting started with it essentially. And this is a topic that I actually be interested because the first time I wanted to create a Git project, so it gave me a little bit of headache, even though it is super simple to create a Git repository and then push a project to it. Everyone keeps talking about ensuring that you keep your project and you upload them on Git and GitHub so that you be able to build a portfolio around it. However, I realized that there needs to be something beginner friendly to show someone who is going to be pushing or is going to be creating a Git project for the first time to be able to know the simplest step-by-step ways to do that. And that's exactly what we're doing today. So depending on how quick we finish with this presentation, I hope to be able to also do a live and a quick sample of what I intend to do or what I mean about a little bit of practicalization on this presentation. So let's get right to it. So we'll be talking about Git, getting started with Git and GitHub essentially. So now, for us to go, let's just have some basic knowledge of what we mean by Git and GitHub. So Git is actually a software, a version control software, and it is open source. It was created in 2005 by Linus Torvalds. And essentially, Git is a content tracker, and it's used to track any form of content. But in this case, we're talking about codes, is that right? So essentially, when you're writing code, at every point in time, you realize that your project is always like increasing in size. You're adding one or two things, you are debugging, you are removing one or two things. So Git is just a way to be able to track these changes and be able to change them accordingly. So that is basically what Git is. And for you to be able to do that, you need a place to store your files, your code files essentially. So you need like a folder, let's say a project, and that's what we call a repository. So it's just a project that contains multiple files, your code base files essentially, that is being tracked by the version control software, which is the Git. So, and for us to essentially start using Git properly, we need to know where we have to host our repository. So essentially, let's say we want to write a project, we want to create a software or an application, maybe web or mobile app. You start by maybe your index file and then some other files. But these files don't exist independently. They all exist within a folder, right? So that folder is more likely a repository. And then for you to essentially use it to track these changes and save them, you need to essentially have that repository. And after having the repository, you need a place where the repository is going to be stored. Typical example, if you are working with the, let's say, a LAMP stack, for instance, as a PHP developer, oftentimes you like store your project in the HT doc of your maybe XAMPP or wherever. So that's like a place you're storing it. So in this case also, you need a place to essentially host your repository. And the hosting can be done online on a cloud-based, on a cloud or on a local server somewhere. So we have three most popular cloud hosting services that you can actually host your repository. And we have GitHub, which is run by Microsoft, GitLab, owned by GitLab, and then Bitbucket. So these are like the cloud spaces where you can host your repository, and then you can essentially track this repository at every point in time with the Git. So let's talk about how we can work about this at all. You know, GitHub is just a place where you host your Git project, right? And the Git is the software itself that tracks the content tracker. So now, how do we get started? The first thing you need to do is just go to github.com and create an account. So fill in the details, your emails, everything. Remember your password, and then you're able to just create a simple account. And then you want to ensure that you have Git installed on your system. Oftentimes, it comes with the system. If you're using a Mac Linux or Linux terminal, for instance, you're most likely going to have a Git there. However, it's just good and safe to confirm if you do have Git installed on your system. So you can confirm that by just trying to check the Git version on your system by typing in the command Git version. So it's going to give you the version should you have Git installed on your system. If you don't, however, it's going to let you know that you don't have it there. But that's not a problem. You can just easily install Git on your system by typing the command sudo apt-get install Git, and that is going to install the latest version of Git. And then now you're good to go. You have an account with GitHub where you can store your repository, and then you have a system that has Git, so you can get started with Git. So now there are two ways you can actually work with GitHub project. You can upload files there. One is either that you work with an existing Git repository. So that's the type one. In this case, you have a repository on Git, you clone into your system, and then you make changes, you check the status, you can commit them back to Git and to GitHub. Or in most cases, in this case as a beginner, all your project has been on your system, on your local system, maybe in the H2 docs or in whatever web accessible folder that you have it on your system, and you want to upload it for the first time. And this is the second one. And the major difference between the two of them is that the first one is an original GitHub project, so it's an original repository, and then it's recognized by Git essentially. But in this case, your local file is not recognized. So one of the first things you want to do is to initialize it and prepare it essentially as a Git project. So that's major differences. The steps are essentially the same for both of them, but you just see the slight differences as we go on. So let's work with the first one. So the first one you want to do is that after you have an account now with GitHub, so there's a plus icon just at the top right corner. You click on it, and then you create a new repository. And then after creating the new repository, just write your name, fill in the description. You can either make it public or private. If it is public, it means that anyone on GitHub can be able to access that particular project file. If it's private, however, you get control on who can see it, who can do anything with it, essentially. And then you want to ensure that you check the initialize checkbox there. It's very important to ensure that this repository is actually initialized. So after you already create your repository, the next thing you want to do is to copy the URL, the HTTP address. So after creating it, you can just click on the repository. It's going to give you a page like this. Then you can click on code on the top right corner also. Then it's going to give you this drop-down menu that has the HTTP address. Then you can just copy it. After copying it, what you want to do is to clone this repository. Although it's empty, yeah, that's like it's a Git repository already. So you want to clone the folder to your own system. So ensure that you are in the directory, and this is very key. The web accessible directory on your system, on your terminal. So once you're there, you just type in the git clone command. So you write git clone, and then you input the HTTP address. You just copy it from your GitHub, and then you enter. So this is going to clone this folder to your phone, to your system. Then you can go ahead and make your edit, add your HTML file, CSS, JS, PHP, any other thing. So once you've done, what you do? The next thing we want to do is we want to commit this file, and then want to push it back to Git. So there are 4 steps in commit. What we have status, add, commit, and push, and these are very simple things. So status will basically help you track those changes you make. So if you type git status on why being in that project directory, it's going to let you know the new files that have been modified, the new ones that have been added. Every single thing is going to come up on your screen. And then what you want to do is after, since the status is going to show you those new files, right? And those new modifications. So you want to add those modifications, or you want to stage them, you want to add them up for staging. So you type in the command git add, then you type in the file name one after the other, index.html, style.css, index.php, and so on and so forth. But you just make it individual. You can just add all of them. So by typing git add and then dot, so this is going to add all of the style, all of the files for staging. And then we are now ready to commit. So by typing in the command git commit and then M, and you can input your custom message just to tell whoever is going to see the project, because that's one interesting thing about it. Multiple people can work on the same file simultaneously, right? So every change you make is just important for you to drop a message, a short description of what you've done on the project, so that the next person who is going to be seeing it is going to know exactly what you've done to the project. So once you commit this, you can now push to Git. But for you to push, you need to know the remote server. So most times the remote server is origin. However, to just confirm, you can just type git remote. That's going to give you the name of the remote server. And then once you get it, which is most likely going to be origin anyway, so you're going to push it to the master. So you just type in git remote, git push origin master. And this is going to, and this might require you to input your username and your password, and then you should just do that and push it back. However, since August 2021, the password feature has been disabled, so you might just have to generate a token, which is also very simple. To be after my good shot to actually generate a token to be able to use it for pushing your project to GitHub essentially. And this is the first step, very easy, very straightforward. So let's go to the type 2. So the major thing you want to do here is that, of course, you still want to create a repository on the GitHub, right, to host a project. Of course, but in this case now, you do not you're not cloning the project. What you want to do is to push the project you have on your local web accessible folder to GitHub, or anywhere it is on your system for that matter. So what you want to do is that we want to be in the project directory. As I said, it's very important that we are in the project directory. And then you want to initialize the local directory as a Git repository by typing in this command git init item b main. So this is going to initialize it. Remember, when you were creating one with number before, you also did that. So it's important that you initialize this project. And since these files have been added for the first time, it's just a good to just add all of them. You can decide to check the status in this case too. It's just going to let you know that all these are new files that have not been added to this repository or to any repository before. So checking the status is as well as not doing anything, but you can just do that if you just want to do. So what you want to do next is to now add all the files, right? So you want to add all the files, so you just type in the command git add all. So just input in the dash is going to stage everything. So if you want to unstage, you can just reset by typing the command there. And then after staging, you want to now commit the same command, git commit item m, and then you write the first message. This is my first commit, or this is my first project. Hooray, I'm so excited, and stuff like that. And then you can essentially remove it too by resetting also. And once we commit, what we want to do next is to actually now copy the URL. Like say we're going to create a repository, empty repository. We go back there, copy the URL. Then you want to add to remote origin and the URL. So git remote add origin into the URL, and then you can verify that by the git remote item B, which is going to just basically verify the URL that it's correct. So should it be correct, you're good to go. We can then push the origin main, and then congratulations, you have created your first Git project as a developer, maybe as a beginner. So simple, so straightforward. So in conclusion, Git is a software content tracker. You track your changes and save them up, and then you can basically check the status by using the status command, and it's going to let you know these are the modifiers, these are the new files, and all. And GitHub is basically a place, a cloud server where you can save your project and save your repository. You can clone, you can create, you can do many other things that are not covered in this presentation. However, the goal of this presentation is just to show you the step-by-step ways that you can create your first Git project as a beginner. So thank you very much for listening.
All right. Thank you, Sementin, for that wonderful presentation. Before we take questions, I think we have another presenter on ground. Let's see if she is ready. Deborah.